We need Halloween movies. I want to know about Halloween during Halloween, so it's more Halloween.
What are you talking about?
We're talking about Halloween movies for Halloween.
What the hell?
I don't know.
What? We're out of control. We're just so excited.
Everything's
when Halloween
broken.
happens, it's like we get all crazy and turning shit on and off as ghosts, clearly. But we're trying to work around the ghosts and the demons, but they keep messing with us. So.
Guys, we've got a poltergeist.
we love Halloween, and we want to talk about movies that you can sit down on Halloween night or anytime, of course, this month of October, that are scary movies or fun movies, but the Halloween themed, meaning they have something to do with Halloween. Not just a scary movie, but a Halloween scary movie.
Halloween theme.
Yeah, there's some sort of theme connection to the actual October 31st. Now, of course, there's the classic John Carpenter film Halloween. And
do we even need to mention it?
No. We have to mention
the classic one, not the stupid David Gordon Green ones. Do not; they're abominations. Avoid at all costs. Just saying.
Yeah, I concur.
Yeah, the John Carpenter one is an all-time classic, and if you haven't seen that, then I don't know why you're watching this podcast.
I know. We all have seen it, hopefully 50 times minimum. That's the rule.
That's right.
It's that good. But so we're going to leave that one to the side because there are other Halloween movies to talk about. And Kathy, why don't you start with your first?
You know, I'm going to bring in one that I loved part 2, but I hated part 1. So that's the interesting part, that I did actually watch part 2 after not liking part 1. But I'm talking about Terrifier. Terrifier 2. Terrifier 2. All right. So this has one of the greatest new inventions of a kind of costumed villain. You know, there's a few of those. We have Jason, we have Michael Myers, there's some there, Freddy Krueger. I think he can rank right up there with them because he's Art the Clown. He's portrayed by David Howard Thornton. Amazing. Like so good, so creepy. He leans into the sort of creepiness that are clowns in general, that are sort of creepy. So he kind of plays around with it. Like he'll go into a restaurant, sit down in the restaurant, and people it's during Halloween, so no one's really thinking about it. But they kind of go, that guy over there is sort of creepy. So I love that they kind of play around with how he's just a little off. But the first film, for horror fan completists, yes, watch it. But it has some of the most offensive horror scenes that I think I've ever seen in a movie, and I am not easily offended. But there was a scene that we're like, I never want to see that scene again. It was just way beyond what needed to be done. Way beyond. There's a million different ways they could have done it, and they did in the grossest. I mean, again, love horror, love gore, but But part 2, they realized what they had with Art the Clown. They knew that he was the key. Don't hold back on him. No one cares about the characters. Nobody. So we have Art the Clown, and then we have the protagonist, who's a woman, of course, Final Girl. And then we have the whole theme of it's Halloween. No one believes you because who's going to be really, really scared of a clown? Blah, 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 blah. Awesome. Great set pieces. Like brutal. Like this does not hold back. Like sometimes you need a horror movie that's just going for the throat. We have a lot of like horror movies like Halloween that think they're going for the throat and they're totally not. They're just like lame as hell. And I'm not new Halloween's not. But these try and disturb you. They're trying to push the limits, and they know this one knew when to stop. So they push it. They do something really horrific, but it really pays off. So highly recommend Terrifier 2 if you're into the hard hitting horror.
I was scared to watch it because it looked like I heard about the first one, and the second one it clocks in at almost 3 hours. It's like 2
goes
hours.
By so fast.
Does it? Okay.
It goes so fast. When you said that, I'm like 3 hours. I would watch it again. I would easily watch it again, but the first one's just, not great.
Okay. Maybe I'll give it a shot.
Yeah, it's really good.
Well, I'll go next. Yeah. I'll talk about this is kind of Halloween adjacent, but it's called Pumpkinhead, and it's a 1988 film directed by Stan Winston, who is just the one of the all-time masters. His only film that he ever directed. And it's kind of a cult following, cult classic. Pumpkinhead is this great creature, again, sort of folk horror stuff.
Yeah.
He comes out of the woods, and it's just a great creature design. Stars Lance Henriksen, who I've always liked, of course, from as Bishop from Aliens and other shows.
Near Dark.
Near Dark. And he had that show Millennium, that was on Fox. Right. But it's one of those small films. It's just it's like it takes place in the 50s. He's a farmer. He's got his son, and his son dies, I think, and it conjures up Pumpkinhead to come back and sort of revive him, something like that. Cool. But The creature's great. There's a couple of really well-directed scenes in this movie that,
Yes.
and I go, boy, Stan Winston can actually direct, but he didn't direct.
More. He didn't like it, I guess.
Maybe it was not his thing.
He just
It's
didn't
not
like
his
it.
métier,
Is he
but
doing amazing special effects?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
He
he's just
loved
wonderful.
doing that. You know, it was like that was
Yeah.
what he did, and
I think he loved
directing
the
is difficult.
Yeah.
He loved the creature too. I think he put all the time and effort into this creature. And
Creature was great.
Creature shows up in a good
Yeah.
way, you know, and there's some really great scenes. So it's
It
a
moves
fun,
really like a living thing. It was, you know, it was pre CGI, so that was like all animatronic and puppeted kind of creature.
Yeah.
And it just works. It works in the story. And Lance Henriksen's really good in this. And it's a good contained thriller, small, late 80s horror film that I think is a perfect Halloween.
That's fun.
Sort of capture that. So Pumpkinhead is always something I'll watch and enjoy. So that's my first film.
And there's a pumpkin in it.
Yeah.
Pumpkin.
So it's Halloween.
Yeah,
qualifies.
Exactly.
Very loose guardrails for Halloween.
I kind of went off a field there. My second one will be closer to what Halloween's all about. How about you, Burk? What do you got for your first?
Mine's
film?
off too, but kind of an obscure one. It's something that we've all seen, but I rarely hear anyone making the connection of Halloween with this film. And the film I'm going to talk about is a little known film from 1973 called The Exorcist. You guys seen that?
That's a weird name. What
pretty good. It's pretty good. But it's
decent.
I mean, we could go on and on about how amazing this film is, but it in fact does take place around Halloween, because there's this one scene where Chris McNeil is walking home from her film set, where she's working on the movie, and on her way home, that's a scene that our friend who guests on our podcast once in a while, Mark Maddox, and I were talking the other day about this movie and saying, there's this one scene in The Exorcist that really has that mood, and it's where she's walking home and you see the nuns with their robes, their habits floating in the wind, and you see those the fall leaves, and you see the kids in their Halloween costumes, and you realize just through that, that the film takes place, evidently around Halloween, which when you think about it, adds another level to the scariness of the film, because Halloween is a traditional time for spirits to come and, the spirits of whatever demons, come out. And
those pesky demons.
The reason you dress up for Halloween is to scare away the demons, right? To clear the demons away. And so yeah, there's that one scene, and that's the scene where the theme, the not really the soundtrack music, but little needle drop of Mike Oldfield's Tubular Bells plays in that one little part, which
it will always be that.
Yeah, and that one scene has so much power, and it tells us. It's the scene where her driver, and she comes to take her home, and she says, I think I'll walk, and it's just a great little interlude in the film. You don't see that too often in films anymore, where it's a little bit of really interesting character development. It gives you a setting of where the neighborhood where she lives. It shows you her walking, and there's also the scene where she sees Father Karras over there talking, and an airplane flies over, so she can't really hear what they're saying. I think that's a great little moment in that film, and it tells us that it takes place during Halloween. The Exorcist, ladies and gentlemen.
I love it. I mean, Exorcist could be on every episode about horror movies.
Yeah.
It's just that film. It's just standard. It qualifies for everything.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. Yeah.
It's so true. So my second one, are we on 2 now?
Yeah, number 2.
Yes.
First? Okay.
Yes.
I feel like you can't really have Halloween movie night without an anthology. So there's the VHS movies, which are solid. And but also, if you want to go Halloween, Halloween theme, Trick or Treat. That is a great little movie from 2007. Never gets old. Like, I watched that movie and I can just watch it endlessly. Just watch it over and over. It has a great cast. It has Brian Cox, Anna Paquin, Dylan Baker. It basically it's an anthology, but all of the characters all takes place in the same town. They kind of overlap. So there's sort of a cause and effect to the anthology that's happening, but they're all separate stories, but they kind of exist in the same universe. So it's really ingenious. And they have this great little character, this little Pumpkinhead guy. And little footy pajamas. It always kind of appears at the end. It's kind of like this kind of, you're summoning him in a weird way. Like he's kind of the scary icon of the film. I love anthologies. Can't get enough of them. This is directed by Michael Dougherty, and it was actually produced by Bryan Singer. Oddly, doesn't seem like something Bryan Singer would do. I know, but really good. You can pretty much find it everywhere. But I would suggest, just if you want to have fun, like a fun Halloween, and not necessarily super scared, but that fun kind of scare, an anthology like this is perfect. Really
I've never seen that, so
watch it. It's one of the best ones.
Yeah,
it's
but
really
I love
fun.
anthologies. I love those Amicus,
really good
anthologies, Crypt of
It's
Terror,
really
and
fun.
all those.
And Brian Cox. I mean,
yeah, that's wonderful.
Yeah, definitely worth watching. You always got to have like the crabby old man with the creepy house on the street.
That's him, and he's good and crabby, and old. I'm gonna go with a much maligned film, but for some reason I like it. It's Halloween 3: Season of the Witch, which was the second which was a sequel, but it's not a sequel. It has Michael Myers is not in this movie at all.
See, that's why I didn't like it.
Yeah, and because it should have been, and there's all kinds of things. John Carpenter and Deborah Hill wanted to do it, but they didn't want to do a Michael Myers film.
Right.
They got Nigel Neal, the great British sci-fi writer, to write the script, but he took his name off it. So there's this weird sci-fi angle where this guy who owns this Silver Shamrock mask company has these masks. He's really these three cool looking masks, and there's some sort of computer chip from Stonehenge that sort of melts the brains of kids.
Stonehenge.
I like that movie.
I need to watch it again because I barely remember it. Probably because I was so offended there was no Michael Myers, so I just. But I want to watch it again now.
There's a vibe to it that's very interesting, very early 80s. There's these men that walk around in suits that are kind of like robots or something. Tom Atkins is in it, who I like. But there's one scene that everybody kind of remembers from this film is where they bring this family into this TV, like an experimental TV room. Hey, watch our commercial and just give us your idea of what you think. They won some sort of contest. So they start watching it, and the kid, put your masks on. So the kid puts on his mask and he starts watching the commercials. 8 more days till Halloween.
God.
Shamrock. And then he starts doing this with his face. And all of a sudden, spiders and snakes and bugs.
Mark loves spiders. Now we know why he's scared by this movie.
Yeah, I know. It came out, and I remember just going, "Oh my god, that kid just turned into this weird, creepy thing." And of course, the parents are horrified. They're watching their kid turn into these. Anyway, it's a fun early '80s movie. Not a great movie. Kind of ends sort of flat. But there's a vibe to it, and John Carpenter's involved in some way, so that sort of gives it some oomph.
It's in there somewhere. We don't know how.
I think he revised the script. Tommy Lee Wallace, who played the Shape, I think in the second movie, is the director, and he actually edited the first Halloween. Okay. So there's some sort of connection to a classic. It's not obviously in that category.
Should have been called just Season of the Witch, right? Or it shouldn't have been called Halloween.
Halloween was just a cash grab.
But the film, the production, the studio said we got to make it Halloween 3, and everybody was upset, and that's why people got pissed off.
Right.
So anyway, it's a fun movie.
Horror film.
It should have been, and it would have been, I think, a lot more well received. But I still think it's a fun Halloween movie.
Yeah, just confusing marketing. That's just confusing marketing. I get why they did it because they want people to see it. It's a John Carpenter Halloween, but they shouldn't have sold it as a Halloween movie, and then they might have done better, and people wouldn't have had that expectation.
Exactly.
Around that time, there was kind of a trend for that sort of sci-fi horror thing, which is like Videodrome or Phantasm, and it's definitely got that feel to it, where it's horror, but it's also got this kind of cool, foundation of science
retro
fiction.
Sci-fi,
like old school science fiction, like an old Quatermass film or something, or
Nigel Neal wrote those.
Sci-fi. Yes, that's
he wrote Quatermass, so it's definitely direct connection to it. So anyway,
all right,
Burk, number 2.
Okay, my last one is a traditional film that takes place on Halloween. I don't know, it's not really very scary, but it's The Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown.
That was terrifying.
That's such a great
love one. That you need a little palate cleanser when you're watching all of this carnage to have a little fun Halloween stuff in between.
I'm thinking a really really good double feature with something else. You know,
Yeah,
like
that would be
you
really
know,
fun,
it's
actually.
the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, and you know,
Yeah.
Terrifier or whatever, and
Yeah.
or you know, Bones.
Terrifier
We're
Fire
having a
too.
double feature. Charlie Brown and Terrifier too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Martyrs. You know, something
That would actually really
Yeah.
light entertainment.
yeah. But it's
That's awesome.
it's actually very it's Halloween themed, and it's got the
So
kind
good.
of, you know, fun approach to Halloween, more like the trick or treat aspect of Halloween. It doesn't go into anything scary. The performances are excellent. The cinematography is really nice.
The dog steals the show, though. Honestly, the dog.
Oh yeah,
Poor Charlie Brown. All
And the
I got
dog
was
lives.
animal performer in this is great. Yeah,
Charlie Brown going, all I got was a rock. I felt
Yes.
so bad for Charlie Brown.
Classic
Poor
quote.
guy.
Fell for it every time.
And of course, Linus waiting for the Great Pumpkin to rise from the Great
Oh, he
Pumpkin
was
patch.
so
It never
cute.
came, but Lucy hung out with him. I mean, not
She
Lucy,
did.
Sally.
Yeah,
Sally,
Sally.
yeah. It's got a
The
theme
character
of
no one
faith,
cares about
you
anymore.
know? those
Yeah.
those sort of universal things, like The Exorcist. It involves
Yeah.
faith and this sort of you know, the manifestation of the human desire to believe in
Right.
something that
Yeah.
may or may not be true, but true within your reality. So therefore, it becomes true. It
I
manifests.
believe it, so it's true.
Yes,
those facts, those believing facts. Yes.
yes.
Charles
Like when the
Sch-
doctor
Charles
says,
Schultz was no
"Trouble is
dummy,
not
you know?
your daughter's
That's right.
head, McNeil."
Oh my
He's
god.
the same
So-
doctor. I think same actor is in it's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, when he tells
That's
Linus
right. They got
Your
the same
trouble
cast.
is not
The
yeah.
Same cast. They was sort
I'm
of
not
like
sure about that.
repertory.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there
Could
might have
be.
been someone else playing Linus in that one though. I don't know.
But all
Yeah.
kidding aside, you can have a fun 24 minutes watching
Yes.
Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown.
Very
Yeah,
cute.
not
Very
too long.
Very sweet, very nostalgic. Takes you back to when you were a kid, at least for
It
me.
is. It's a good entryway to Terrifier 2. Watch that first. You'll be all
Right.
set up and prepared.
With the kids. If Terrifier 2 is perfect for
Watch with your
6-year-olds.
kids because everybody loves a good clown who's a hero.
And it's like in a previous episode of this, we were talking about folk horror. I think the Great Pumpkin classifies as folk horror in a way.
Yeah.
It's a
Halloween is all about
folklore-
folk,
Yeah,
technically. When you think about
yeah.
it.
I mean, a good double feature with the Wicker Man. You know, another
right.
movie about faith and
I mean, what other kind of holiday it forces you to go knock on people's door, cold calling, begging for candy? I mean, it is the perfect holiday,
night.
really.
Yes,
At
not
night,
night.
dressed like
Wearing
so no one will
dress.
recognize you. It's just a
Wearing-
weird idea.
I know.
Think about it.
And we at our house, we get about 1,200 trick or treaters between 6 p.m. and 9 p.m.
Oh my
insane.
God.
I spend about $500 in candy. But
I
if
get
somebody
about
comes,
10 to 15, and that's it.
No, it's crazy. But at 9:30, when like the doorbell rings at 9:30, and it's like 3 18-year-olds with no costumes on.
That's when it starts getting creepy.
That's when I go.
Yeah.
I'm gonna shut
Yeah.
the light. No
Trick or
food
treat.
is for you.
I know. Are you a
Yeah,
little
you
old?
move there.
Can't you just buy your own candy now? I mean, this
Yeah,
just seems
exactly.
weird.
Yeah.
It's hard to give up on Halloween. I remember when I felt like I was sort of getting a little too old for it, but I just had to go one more time. And then you get that look when you're at the door and you're like, yeah, I guess this is my last time.
That was last
I
year.
never went.
Yeah. I decided
lived-
last year to stop.
I lived in a neighborhood where there weren't other kids, so I remember when Halloween, I would loved the idea, and I always wanted to, but there was never any other kids for me to go with. So I remember one year I wanted to go, and I think my parents didn't want to go with me or something, so I went out by myself.
No.
I sort of made my own. This sounds so pathetic, but I made my own costume, and I went out, and I thought, just go up to the door and say trick or treat, right? And the first door I went to was the typical, get off my lawn. And
Brian
it was
Cox.
like, it was something about Jesus, and it's like, this is
Oh.
sinful, heathen,
Hagen.
sinful. I'm gonna pray for you, and all this kind of
Oh,
stuff. And so
geez.
I went home. That was my Halloween trick or treat experience.
Oh,
That's
that's
so
just
sad.
brutal, dude.
Oh.
That's the saddest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah,
Oh,
we
I
had
know.
neighbors across the street, the Chows, who didn't really know about Halloween, but they would bring out a big tray of like full-size candy bars, full-size.
nice.
They were the favorite ones. in
Oh
the
my! And they
neighborhood.
would say, "Take as much as you want." So I remember I just went like this, put them on my pillowcase, and I think they looked a little shocked, but I just left. So
we get trick or treaters with the cutest little kids. They come up and we have this big bowl because I always buy way too much, and they pick one, and I'm like, you could take more, and they look at you like, really? Like you've told them, really? And I'm gonna get the biggest handful ever. It's like 3 more.
Right.
The parents are all like, no, don't be greedy. I'm like, no, please be greedy. Go ahead. And they're probably like, stop telling my kid to be greedy.
I know. Because of course you don't want us to be stuck with 50 pieces of candy that you'll eat over the next 2 days. Like I
Seriously.
do.
I know. I'm always like, buy too much. I'm like, oh, I guess we have to eat this now.
Oh, I can have a salad or 4 Twix bars.
Exactly. So I can't wait for Halloween. I love it.
The best stuff. She gets to really good things. Like when she comes home with it, she thinks about it. She's thoughtful, and thinks about it. And I'm always like, oh yeah, Halloween. And she brings home this stuff, and I'm like, that's too good for kids. I think we should keep that for ourselves and get some cheesy stuff for the trick-or-treaters.
There's always the candy really that's left. Like you can tell the good candy bars, and then they leave kind of the Tootsie Rolls and the pixie things,
Smarties and shit like that.
Yeah, Smarties. All right. I love candy corn. I admit it. I love candy corn. I will eat it. I buy it for myself.
They say candy corn it simulates the experience of eating crayons.
No, does not. It tastes sweet and it's good. I actually get more of a sugar high on candy corn than anything else in the morning.